Ace Attorney. Jeez, I don't even know where to begin with this one. This series is the absolute pinnacle of storytelling within video games. I remember first getting my hands on the original entry back when I was about 9 years old and just being scared out of my mind. Seeing murders on my DS was frightening for the younger me and often made me paranoid before I went to sleep every night. But you know what? Even though I was afraid of the game, I kept on playing it. And I guess it was because of how fun and epic the entire package felt. So Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney from the outset places you in the shoes of Phoenix Wright, a rookie defense lawyer who is mentored under the watchful eye of Maya Fey. It's Phoenix's job to get a not guilty verdict for those who can't defend themselves and bring any wrongdoers to justice. The game is then split up into 4 episodes with an especially juicy 5th case added with the DS release. From here, each chapter consists of 2 different portions: investigations, where you pick up evidence and question a bunch of people, and the trials, where you must cross-examine witnesses with Phoenix's notorious pointing finger. Now, investigations are for the most part fun and more relaxed when compared to its counterpart. You click around on the bottom screen, much like a point-and-click adventure game, to gain evidence that can help you in the trial later on. You also can question and present evidence to those that you happen to run into. You know, this is all well and good, you know, having fun, blah blah blah, but things really start to heat up once you get into the trials. The trials are easily the best part of any Ace Attorney game, as so many new things get revealed, and just questioning a witness's testimony is a lot of fun. The real meat of the game is found in these portions, and you'll have a lot of those aha moments when the truth starts to reveal itself. However, to get to this truth, you have to present evidence that contradicts with what the witness is saying. For example, say a witness tells you that the murder was committed at 6 o'clock, when in actual fact it occurred at 4 o'clock. You will then present evidence that in some way displays that the crime occurred at 4 o'clock. To present this evidence, you can go the normal way, you know, just tap objection on the touchscreen, easy, blah blah blah. Or you can go into full on badass mode and scream objection into the mic on the DS. Back when I was 9, this was the only way to go. This was my favourite thing to do as it really made me feel awesome and like I was actually bringing these murderers to justice. Now, both of these portions are helped incredibly by Ace Attorney's engaging range of characters. Each character has their own unique and just crazy personality that can make you either love them or absolutely despise them. This really is an integral part to Ace Attorney, and you can just tell they put a lot of heart into each character, if you know what I'm saying. Something else that remains memorable about the game is its masterpiece of a soundtrack. You've been hearing these tracks throughout the entire video, and they never get old. They're so memorable that anyone who's experienced the game can identify which situation the music was played in. The game manipulates the soundtrack and makes it not just accompany what's on screen, but also heighten the player's emotions. For instance, when you're pushed a witness to breaking point, this will play. And when you find out a frightening fact, this will play. It even sometimes manipulates silence as a build-up to the truth, which shows Capcom's mastery of the craft. If you're looking for proof, back when I was 9, I remember I used to sometimes turn the music off while I was playing, as the music eventually started to scare me. This is because I associated the music with the murders that I had actually seen prior. This just goes to show how well the soundtrack subtly tells the player how to feel in certain situations. Hearing the different themes actually manipulated my feelings so much that it became as emotive as to what I had seen and read prior. This is something that comes up very rarely in video games and just makes this game insanely memorable. So as you all know, Phoenix Wright is split up into 5 different cases, each with its own plot, story, culprit, victim. It's sort of its own thing. So it's hard to review this game without going into specifics about each case and just seeing how well it does its job. So we're going to start with case 1. The first case, geniusly named The First Turnabout, acts more of a tutorial of what the game involves, but it's still surprisingly engaging. The case is simple, but it succeeds at what it tries to do. Also, Phoenix gets a wig thrown at him, so there's that. Next is Turnabout Sisters, which is a case that mainly focuses on the Fey family. You meet your assistant Maya Fey for the first time, which is great by the way. This case is also one of my favourites as it's one that I used to repeat pretty much religiously. The characters in this case are especially interesting and you have a real motivation to find the culprit because of how your mentor, Maya Fey, is involved in it. You also get introduced to the famous prosecutor Edgeworth, who is really intimidating and just a great rival overall. So this case is when we meet all of the reoccurring characters, but at the same time, this is one of the best because of how Phoenix is personally involved in the turnabout. Turnabout Samurai is probably the least interesting case in the whole game, but that doesn't mean it isn't enjoyable. The case doesn't really add much to the characters and doesn't make much of a difference to the overarching storyline, but the case is still really fun to play through as it does have some really good twists. And this is also the first time Edgeworth actually helps you. Well, at least tries to.
Objection!
Yeah, maybe next year, Edgeworth. Turnabout Goodbyes is where things really start to pick up. The case involves Phoenix defending Edgeworth, which creates a strange sort of friendship between the two rivals. It delves into Edgeworth's tragic past and wraps up the whole DL6 incident, which has been plaguing the entire game. It also manages to intertwine the two cases in a way that doesn't feel forced. The characters in this turnabout are probably the most interesting, which really makes this case compelling. I can only really praise this chapter as it does so many things right. Even the final culprit is surprising. It adds so much to Edgeworth's character and is the best case in the game. Well, at least out of the original 4. The final case, Rise from the Ashes, was an added case for the DS release, but it doesn't drop its standard, don't worry. Rise from the Ashes feels big, as if what's going to happen in the trial will affect more than just the culprit. It takes the idea of involving more than one case and builds upon it. To put it simply without spoiling anything, it feels epic and the overall payoff is very rewarding. It's also really long too, which is great. This case is probably the best in the entire game as it encapsulates everything I like about the original Ace Attorney and condenses it into one massive product. It feels like a fitting conclusion to the game and left me feeling overall happy with what I just played, even though it did take my 9-year-old brain months to finish. Now, one of my favourite things about the game is its writing. You're going to be doing a lot of reading in this game, but because of the writing, it's not a bad thing. It can make you laugh, it can make you sad, it can make you angry at some of the characters. It can control the audience into thinking what it wants it to think. So I'm going to give this 3 points as it's really good. It's probably the best thing about this game. Now, something else that can really control your emotions in the game is the soundtrack. Now, I'm not going to repeat myself again and again because I've already talked about this quite a bit in the video, but once again, it's really good and it can really set the scene well for what's going to happen. So I'm going to give this 3 points as well. Every character in Ace Attorney has its own trope and personality, and that really makes them memorable. Whether you're interrogating them on the witness stand or just talking to them during an investigation, they're always interesting and really make this experience. So I'm going to give this 3 points. Now this next point is very much my own opinion, and I know I'm going to get a lot of people disagreeing with me when I say it, but I like the animation. And I know it can seem a bit rigid at times, and I know a lot of other games are really pushing the DS to its limits, and this doesn't really compare to it in terms of that. But I think it gets the job done because it really shows off the characters' personalities. It's like, for example, maybe you've pushed a witness to his limits on the witness stand and then he chokes himself with a scarf. It's simple, it works, and it's just funny. So I'm going to give this 2 points. Now my one complaint about this game is that the main story can feel a bit forgotten at times. Like, for example, in Case 2, it's touched on, it gets introduced, which is great. Case 3, it's kind of forgotten, it touches on it a little bit, but it doesn't really talk about it that much. Case 4, it goes full throttle and really gets the job done, but I understand Case 5 is just an add-on for the DS, and it still works by itself, but it doesn't even talk about it, and I know it was sort of wrapped up in Case 4, but Case 5, it just feels like it's by itself and it's completely different. And I know these cases can really survive on their own, but touching on a main story would have been a bit better. So I'm just going to minus 1 point for that. Alright, let's see how Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney stacks up. Yeah, this review was a pretty easy one for me. The game's fantastic, the story, soundtrack, characters, everything about it is just a lot of fun to play. And you have no excuse not to get this because it's pretty much on every device possible. There's iOS, DS, 3DS soon, Wii, GBA. You can't go wrong, really. Oh, I've got Dutch actually, maybe you could go wrong. I wouldn't get that one. But anyway, it's a great game. Definitely pick it up. My job's done. I got nothing else to say. It's good. Anyway, that'll wrap up my video for today. So remember to like, favorite, comment, subscribe, you know all that stuff by now. Make sure you get this game as well, or just any Ace Attorney game, because it's a fantastic series, and every game doesn't let down. Also, there's a sequel coming out called, like, The First Attorney, set in the Meiji era. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that yet, sadly, but we'll just have to wait and see, right? Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video, guys. Bye. I love the first game, actually. It's one of my favorites. Don't forget to like, favorite, comment, subscribe as usual, and I got something on my thumb. Ooh.